I'm Quint.
I'm Aron. I was here the whole time. Totally knew this was happening.
Yeah, it's called a bully tactic to finally make you sit down and do something.
But I don't wanna. I just want to talk and not do anything. But I thought maybe we could
Kind
talk
of what we're
about-
doing.
Right. Pretending like it's productive so one day we can use it as a tax write-off. Get with the program.
Noted.
Somebody's going to ruin it. So we came up with the idea of, well, I should never sit like that. We came up with the idea of talking about characters to develop that aren't easy. And yes, Wolf, I'm looking at you. We have 4 that have been, I think, really tricky to develop. Dex, Fletcher, Wolf, and Amelia.
Yes.
And 3 of them are really key to the story. Wolf, Dex, Fletcher. And today we're going to talk about Dex and why he's so difficult to develop. And I have to take the glasses off because ring. And I'm blind. Okay. So
Man, getting old sucks.
it really does. As Betty Davis said, it ain't for the weak at heart. I love Betty Davis. FYI. Jackie has a lot of Betty Davis in her, which most of you have no idea what I'm talking about, and really there's probably only 2 of you out there, and you're related to us. I guess it doesn't matter. But anyways, back on topic, Nora, Aron, whatever. Races run. Dex is hard to develop mostly because he does not talk a lot. He is absolutely brilliant. He thinks in a way that is beyond what normal people get. And I have based him off of people near and dear to my heart and the struggles they go through of being so smart but having your brain wired in a way that makes it difficult for anyone to understand you're smart. And when you combine the fact of Dex with how he looks like a musclehead. He looks like his name is Thog and he picks up heavy rocks. You would never expect a man that big with hands like sausages to do the delicate work and the attention to detail and have that ability to hyper focus in on problems that normal people can't understand, and to be able, the math he does in his head, like, he's brilliant. The math, the coding, all of that comes natural to him. He failed classes in school because he couldn't tell you how he could get to that answer. Writing things down on paper is a problem. He's got a visual processing disorder. And getting it from his head to paper so other people could see, not happening. And he also, he's on the spectrum. He can't quite verbalize it either. So I think he grew up a lot in a situation where people just wrote him off as dumb. And I think he sort of wrote himself off as dumb too until his mother found the stepfather.
Dex he's difficult to work into scenes because he's not the one that's talking. And we have to go out of our way to, when we go back and edit, make sure that he's incorporated in, because he does contribute just as much to the scenes and to the functioning of the team. He's just not the one that's vying for attention and like demanding, he's got this smart thing to say, or he's gonna go, he's generally the one that's like fixing the problem, but he's fixing the problem in the background because he's very much analyzing things, and until he has like a solid answer or something concrete to say, like a well-developed idea, he's in the background thinking about it.
Even when he talks, there's always a delay.
Mm-hmm.
He talks, I come from a long line of engineers. Fortunately, that genetic mutation skipped my generation, but if you've ever lived with or known engineers or scientists, there is no rushing anything, and getting them to explain things is really hard. But if you say, like, hey, what's your name? Poindexter Milrose. There's going to be a pause as he analyzes the question. It's never going to be a rote answer, which feeds into this idea that he's dumb.
I think it's Milrose.
Milrose. What'd I say? Millhouse.
Yes.
It's Milrose.
Milrose.
I do this with my own children, and I pick those names out too, so I think we understand this is a thing that happens. We haven't been clear about it before. I'm old, and also I've always been like this. So, Declan, Riley, don't put Mommy in a nursing home. She was always like this. She was always an idiot and could never find her car keys or remember your name. It's baseline.
Which means you should have always been in a home.
I'm all for that. If somebody else wants to take care of all the cooking, cleaning, and working, I'm down with that. That would be no problem. Like, get me my pudding. I'm okay with that. But getting back on topic, which is hard for me, thank you. I think Dex is incredibly hard to write in because you don't expect it, but he sees everything. Chance walks into a room and thinks, what can I take? What can I get away with here? Wolf walks into a room and he's like, how can I conquer this? How do I defend and conquer? And what can I get into that makes this a little more exciting? Cruiser walks into rooms like, who do I get to punch?
Yeah.
Who punches me?
Bring it.
Yeah. And Fletcher walks into a room and is like, shot me. Squirrel. Oh, this, that, oh. And Sam's like, ooh, bubbles.
Yes. And Dex is back in the corner observing everything.
And everyone's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
When you have these difficulties interacting and you're smart, you realize you don't act like other people or do what other people do. And it becomes kind of this almost mimicry. Like, to get through school and the military, you have to sort of learn to imitate what other people are doing. And you're doing that while you're trying to understand it, and you don't speak that language. So there is a lot of watching these interactions and trying to figure it out. And I think him and Cruiser would have hit heads hard early on because Cruiser gets mad and says the dumbest shit ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not a racist, but he says racist, misogynistic, hateful, awful things that make no sense at all.
Yes, he does.
Not because he believes them, because he wants a fight.
He wants a fight. He wants to provoke. It's largely behavior that his early childhood modeled.
Oppositional defiance.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was largely survival in his early childhood. It's just something that like is inherently him. And
you can't ever back down. If you're back down, you're weak and you will be eaten alive.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you provoke the biggest guy in the room.
And you break his face.
Oh, yeah, that happens. And Dex is like, why is this guy saying these things?
And
like,
Dex
he just saved my life, and now he's... Did you just call me an ape?
Yeah, Dex is the only one that takes the time to be like, what he's saying and what he does are two very different things. Like, they're completely incongruent, and why? Everybody else just takes him at face value. And Cruiser is largely reactionary. So there's no planning, there's no manipulation with him. He's just in the moment and reacts. And he will never de-escalate. Cruiser always escalates.
Instigate.
Yes.
Push that button. There it is. Push, push, push.
Yeah.
Oh. What is the button here? But with Dex, I don't even think necessarily he intends to do it. He just can't. He can't stop himself. Cruiser can't stop himself from doing it. And Dex is like smart enough that he's figured out what Cruiser's looking for is to be stopped. Cruiser doesn't know that's what he's looking for, but when you come up to a guy who's way bigger, way stronger, and that you're willing to die for, and is one of your closest friends on Earth, and you call him an ape or stupid, things you know are going to get you punched, you're looking to be stopped, whether you know it or not.
Yes.
And he's willing to put a hard stop to it without actually murdering Cruiser, which is a bonus.
Bonus, because kind of need the medic.
Yeah, we can't afford another head injury. So a punch to the solar plexus to keep him from talking for about a minute.
Which is his greatest self-imposed enemy is running his mouth.
One
We
of
just solved that problem for you.
Yeah.
You can't breathe enough to talk.
And one of my favorite things that Dex ever does to him, one of my favorite Dex scenes, period, is when Cruiser is off. He is in the weeds. He will not stop running his mouth. Wolf is down. Chance is down. Fletcher's down. They can't afford to lose another person. And he cannot afford to punch this guy. But he needs to be stopped. And Dex, in his very analytical manner, simply picks him up like a loaf of bread and throws him into the middle of the pool. And then leaves. He's like, now cool off and deal with it.
And Cruiser is so angry. So angry. Because you know what?
It works.
Doesn't feel therapeutic in any way, shape, or form? Punching the pool water.
Yeah. But that splash of cold water might bring you back to reality, which is you cannot afford to have this temper tantrum at this moment in time. But Dex is such a literal, analytical, introverted person that it's difficult to get to the real character and understand him and to see. And we haven't even shown, he does have an absolute temper, probably one of the worst of the lot of them, because he keeps it in so long. When it goes, it goes.
Yes.
I mean, not the scariest. Fletcher has the scariest temper by far. Emery's up there too. But Fletcher doesn't lose his temper.
They all have.
He loses
they all
his
have
grip on
tempers.
reality.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is difficult when you're writing to, because it's especially our series of books, because it's very action oriented, and there's a lot of banter and a lot of talking and a lot of just stuff happening. And so now you take a character who doesn't talk and doesn't demand a whole lot of scene presence, and getting him worked in to the scenes can sometimes, it takes some editing, and the character development is a lot slower, and it's not so inherently, it doesn't come so naturally.
Yeah, and it's, I don't want him to feel like a cheat, like, oh, here's this genius guy we just keep in the background and pull him out when we've written ourselves into a corner and he has to make a magical MacGuffin to make things better. That's not what he is. He is integral. The team needs him. The team uses him. He works with the team. But showing that is tough. And he actually is really funny, and he's really astute when you know how to listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows how to handle Cruiser better than anyone else.
Yes, he does.
He knows how to handle Wolf and Fletcher. Fletcher is probably the one thing in the world that truly scares him. And he's incredibly close to Fletcher. I mean, it's a different relationship than Chance and Fletcher, who are two sides of the same coin. But he's very close to Fletcher and understands that Fletcher has that same kind of mind like his that isn't normal and is trying to kill him occasionally. And the depths Fletcher went to for the team, for them, the faith, the belief he has in them, and the fact that he gave up his mind is something that Dex knows he would not be able to do. And that leaves a bond there that is very difficult to show, and something we probably need to write more scenes on to do.
Mm-hmm.
And develop the backstories. Like, I've got Dex's backstory. Like, and he's not a stereotype. And I think that's key to get out there and across there, is like you can get this like typical nerdy character who sits in the background and pulls everything out at the last minute, and he's kind of affable and a little pudgy, and this is not Dex at all.
No, and we've actually like, the characters they're character studies in the idea that they present offhand as this stereotype. Cruiser comes off as this rough and tough biker.
Dick.
And yeah.
Dick.
And when you peel it back, though, like, he's a medic, he's really dedicated to doing his job. He really wants to help people. He's a dedicated father figure to his niece, who, like, he will, wear a unicorn fairy princess dress to tea with his niece because she asked, and he's all gur and tough. So it's these characters that are, they present as these stereotypes, but they're anything but. And it's very much like real people that, you know, they present as one way, but when you actually get to know somebody, there's a whole backstory there. There's all these reasons that, you know, they're neurotic in one way, or they're scared to tell you something in another way, or show the side of them because historically they've been burned. So,
And with, I think Cruiser especially, Cruiser comes off as someone who hates people. He, we had this conversation once where he's like, I hate people, people are stupid. I'm like, he's a medic. He literally has spent his life trying to fix people, trying to heal people, to make them better. He doesn't hate people. He hates the situation people are in, and he hates seeing people hurt, and he hates seeing people suffer, and he hates being powerless.
he really hates being powerless to fix it.
And I think Dex, after a little bit of observation, would get that in spades. That this is not a big stupid dog that's going around biting everything because it can. This is a little dog who barks at everything because he's insecure, and
And the big dogs keep stepping on him.
he keeps getting crushed, and he's still coming back for more because it matters. It matters deeply, and Cruiser can't show it because he's flawed, but he's easier because he punches stuff and says stupid stuff.
Cruiser has no problem being on stage.
Dex is not comfortable in that in any way, shape, or form, but he has funny things to say, and he has an incredible value, I think, especially to Wolf, because he's the only one really who, besides Wolf, who had a relatively stable childhood.
Dex is largely the most stable one of them.
Dex had, his real father died when he was young. His mother was struggling along as a single mother who did everything she possibly could for him, including moving him out of the city to this nice rural setting where she ended up meeting a sheriff. And even though Cruiser is not the stereotype of what you'd see in the country, he's very much what you see. Dex, I'm sorry, in the country, which is, people can think you're rednecks and have racist and all that, but he's one of them. It doesn't matter what color or how he got there, he's one of them, especially since his stepdad is the sheriff, and he's very, very well respected in the town. And Dex's stepdad saves his life just by recognizing how smart this kid is and how the system is failing him. And in this case, good cops, like his stepdad is, much like Cruiser, want to fix the system, want to save kids like Dex from ending up on the street or in a gang or in trouble, because nobody gives them the time of day, nobody sees what they are, and they write them off. And he gets that with his dad, and I think he sees a little bit of that in Cruiser. And then he ends up in the military. And Dex's stepdad is actually shot on the job. And the whole town, out of all of them, Dex is the only one who has an entire town willing to lie for him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he does.
Because it doesn't matter what they say or what's going on here. They know this kid. They knew what he did for the town. They knew how his father raised him, and this isn't right. And they will go to bat for him for it. But getting him to show that, and show that depth and that absolute devotion he has to his stepdad for saving him, and then once he's in the military, he loves the structure, the order, the rules that you get, you follow, you understand, but he's also hampered by them. And he meets up with people who are racist, who are awful, and he ends up in direct confrontation and getting in trouble constantly, until Wolf comes along and sees that whole other level to him and how much he could be if he took the chance. So his devotion to the wolf is right up there with his devotion to his stepdad and his mom. And really, I think the only way we've brought him along is to continue to play and go back into scenes and physically remember to put his voice into there.
Yeah, which I think actually even in Troubled Waters, when I went back and was re-editing things, it was making sure to go put him back into things and get him a little more interaction on whatnot. So
we do have, like, when we bring Micah onto the scene, you really start to see Dex shine.
Yeah.
But you need to get that sooner.
Yes. Yeah, and it definitely comes as we're doing as we're going through Devil. We really start to work him in, especially because everybody is so off balance. It's a perfect place for Dex to really shine because he's largely the most stable one. Him and Cruiser, but Cruiser has some other strings he's dealing with, working through. So
Cruiser's stable?
In that book,
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Dex and Cruiser.
You're like the least crazy person in the institution. It's a very low bar that we set there.
Yeah. Yeah. But those two are kind of the driving force between with getting everything done. In fact, when Emery takes off, and Fletcher is off in the nut house and they're trying to figure things out, and Chance is, borderline off balance and is he going to start drinking and shooting up again? It's Dex and Cruiser that are sitting there figuring out which facility that they need to get Fletcher transferred to. And that's when Wolf walks out and Cruiser's all like, I don't know what this whole leadership complication thing is that you keep whining about.
Well, and I think it's interesting, too, especially in that book, where Dex is watching everything burn around him. He's the only one stable enough that you get any sense of the sadness and the loss. And like him waiting there with Chance, waiting for news from Fletcher, and then trying to arrest him, and knowing he knows full well how bad this is, and knows that he doesn't want to fight the arrest, but he's going to have to because Chance won't be able to stop.
Yeah.
And it's horribly sad and powerless for him, and he's the only one aware of it.
He's not trying to fight the arrest because that's going to happen.
You don't fight the police.
You don't fight the police. He's trying to save Chance because he knows
Chance is going to get beat to death.
Chance is going to fight and he's going to run.
He can't stop it.
Yeah.
And it's this incredible powerlessness that I don't know if because we haven't seen enough of Dex, we really need to make it more so you understand how heartbreaking that is for him, and why he's willing to go ahead and break the law and fight against everything he believes in and was raised to believe in, because even above rules is right and wrong.
Yes, and that turns into the whole conundrum of there's the law, and then oftentimes there's justice, and then there's also right and wrong, and they can all be very different things.
And ironically, it's only Fletcher and Emery who don't believe in justice at all. Emery will tell you flat out there's not an ounce of justice in this world. It is a made-up concept we make to make ourselves feel better. But if you've ever been in a pediatric cancer ward, you know there's no justice. And that is why Fletcher and Emery are a little scary when they lose their temper, especially Fletcher. Because there's no moral constraint there. It's pure anger.
Yeah.
Seething cauldrons of anger barely contained by their skin, which you don't expect from them, you expect it from Dex.
Yes, and Cruiser wants there to be right and wrong, even though several times it just does not matter.
Cruiser absolutely believes in right and wrong.
It's right and wrong, and it's black and white.
And there is justice. And there are rules and order, and this is... No, you can't go to prison for that. Yes. You didn't do it.
You didn't do it. So, it doesn't matter. They need somebody to blame. Chance inherently they just need somebody to blame.
And if you run fast enough, it might not be
he's
you.
this has nothing to do with right and wrong. It has to do with presentation.
Yes, but he still believes in these concepts. He's just always willing to go to the wrong side for the right reasons, which is it feels good. And Dex is not willing to unless there is a reason, and in this case it is that it's an injustice what's happening to his family, what's happening to his unit, what's happening to the people who killed and were willing to die for him, and that loyalty, and that you have to be loyal to the truth, justice, and all those wonderful concepts. And in this case, that's going to be following Wolf. And it's, as much as it's hard for him to do, it's probably he's the one that has the least amount of problems with it.
Yeah.
Because it's just the way it is. So that's a difficult character.
Yep, that's one of many difficult characters, and developing him is still a process, and it's still a very conscious effort. Like, we jump in and out of Cruiser and Chance and Emery and Sam at the drop of a hat.
Juliet, Katie,
even
yeah, Burke.
Katie, Burke, like a lot of them we just jump in and out of because
they're right there.
They are, and Dex is a little more. He's a lot more difficult, and we both have to take a step back and really think about Dex, and he's definitely a group effort.
Yeah, he's a group effort. And hopefully by playing him more, it'll get easier.
Yes,
and it
has.
And
the more, that's the thing with all of the characters, is the more that you play them, the easier they become because you know them so much more intimately. We were just talking about the fact that, like, I need to play Wolf for, like, a month, and then I would know him so very well, but
he's such a dick.
I don't know if I can
love him
that.
to death. He's such a dick. He's
yeah.
so...
Yes.
In an entirely different way than Cruiser's a dick.
Yeah.
It's a much worse way.
In a lot of ways. Yes, his ego is just untethered.
I'm a god in this world.
I made her. Like, did he just say that?
He really
said that. He's not taking that back.
No, he means that.
He does. Wow, he's a dick.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need a Jackie to put his ass right.
Yeah.
Did you just say what? Excuse me? Boy? What did you just say?
But yeah, the characters are always... They're always a work in process. There's always more to explore, and they're not always easy, but the more you do them, the more they become more...
Second nature.
Yes, second nature to you.
And they should always be able to surprise you.
Yes.
Because they're not you.
Yeah.
You just create them. Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Wolf, I'm talking to you. Actually, we created you. Next time we have to write him and I have writer's block, remind me of this. We're mocking him.
That's him just doing like, you did what now?
Oh, who's the god where?
Yeah, okay. God's
I'm not
God's
gonna
taking
do that.
a time out. We're not doing this.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to write the scene now? Nope.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it.
So, but no, I do think that Devil is a place for Dex to really shine.
I think we need to, because we've gone in a different order with how we're going to release the books, we need to have him, definitely that presence there, a little more.
Yeah.
And more solidified. So that's how we play with one tough character.
Yep.
And now we're going to go get some food and explore, and we will be back to talk to you again. And you'll have to talk.
I will not.
And we'll do.